Hey guys, what's up? It's Rob. It is Monday and I'm doing my weekly vlog, and lots of good stuff happening that I want to share with everybody and talk about. But before I do, I want to just touch on something that I was thinking about. And I've been pissing some people off lately. I guess I kind of knew that I would when I started talking about some of the things that I've been talking about. But I had a friend reach out to me today, and I posted something. It was a picture from last night's coaching call with CityFam, where we have every month we have this coaching call for our contributing members. And I just posted something. It was a picture, and I'm like, these are the people that are closest to me, that really, have my back, and that I hang out with, I socialize with, I volunteer with, they hold me accountable. And I'm like, if you don't have it, you're effed, you're screwed, because you just can't make it alone. And I said, and if your group is a bunch of, haters and backstabbers and shit talkers, then you're not going to make it either, because you're going to become like the people that you associate with. You're going to become a hater and a backstabber and a shit talker. You just won't make it by yourself. And when I say you won't make it, I mean you're not going to become the best version of yourself. It doesn't mean you can't survive. People survive all the time without groups like this, but you're not going to become the best version of yourself. And this friend reached out to me, and she's like, you make me feel bad, like if I don't do it your way, that, that's the only way to do it. And I was like, so you think that you can make it? You can become the best version of yourself alone? And she said, no. Well, I said, well, then we agree. And, basically she's like, well, what about people that through no fault of their own, they're, sitting at home? And I said, well, they should go out and make friends. It's not no fault of their own. It's their own fault. I'm like, it's not my responsibility to pat you on the head and tell you that everything, that what make you feel good. Like I told her, I said, I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to save people. I'm not trying, if I step on some toes in the process, then so be it, because just like a good personal trainer wouldn't say, hey, you can eat pizza every day and expect to have a six-pack. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work like that. You're not going to become the best version of yourself by yourself. So if you don't surround yourself with a good group of people, which is your responsibility, then you're not going to become the best version of yourself. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but it's the truth. I had people reach out to me and tell me they get pissed off when I say women want security and men want sex. I'm like, it's the truth. I didn't make this shit up. It's just the truth. If you don't like it, I don't know what to do about it. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or I'm just indifferent. It doesn't matter to me, but it is the way that it is. And if you try to deny that, you're lying to yourself, or you're delusional, or you're just blind or stupid. I don't know what, but it is the truth. People, hit me up and they say, well, I don't think you should, it should be like this, or it should be like that. I'm like, I don't care about how it should be. This is just the way that it is. And if you try to deny it, you're only going to be hurting yourself. I had another friend reach out to me, and she got mad at me and said, I don't think you should say, like I had posted something that said, look, if you're a woman and you're dating a man without commitment, right now, chances are you're the best looking that you're ever going to be for the rest of your life. Like, we're all getting uglier, me too. And I said, so to date a man for a long period of time and sleep with them without a commitment is stupid, because at some point it becomes harder for you to replace that guy. And she got mad at me and was offended. And I'm like, it's the truth. Like, we're all not getting better looking. I mean, you're delusional if you think that age produces, no, youth is where it's at. I know that I'm not getting better looking, and people get offended by this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the truth. Like, I don't understand why people get upset by the truth. Like, I'm trying to help people see this is the way that it is. So, like, I know my style may be not quite like everybody else's that's saying the things that I'm saying, but listen, all those other people exist. I'm speaking to a different audience. Maybe if somebody would have talked to me like this earlier in my life, they would have gotten through to me. But there wasn't people out there. Everybody wants to sugarcoat it and pretend like, or just make it seem like nicer than it really is, because they're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. If I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, but this is a lot of the things that I say are through trial and experience, so I know them to be true. If it hurts someone's feelings, sometimes the truth hurts before it sets you free. So that's just kind of the way that it is. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which are some really exciting things that are happening with CityFam. And by the way, going back to that, if anyone doesn't like what I say, it's pretty easy to hit the unfollow button. But I don't ever mean to hurt anyone's feelings intentionally, but I am trying to help people. And sometimes people need to hear it straight. They need to hear it very direct. And that's just what I'm trying to do. Anyway, sorry. So, really good stuff happening with City Fam. So this weekend we had 2 groups meet. We had Houston, Texas meet last night, and we had New York City meet on Saturday. So these are really like the first groups outside of Baltimore that have met. And you know, we had Harford County and we had Anne Arundel County, we had Delaware at some point said, you know, hey, we want to do this City Fam thing, and we tried to get them off the ground. And what we found was not with Harford County. Actually, Harford County is kind of off and running. But with the other 2 places that I mentioned, is we didn't vet the people properly, and they said they wanted to get started, but then when it came time to do the work, they didn't really want to get started. And we found out that we were doing most of the work, and so what we came up with was this process to start people. So now we've had people reach out, and it is crazy. Like I'm telling you, the people that have reached out to us are from like, and I posted a list of the cities, but like all over the United States, London, England, Jakarta, Indonesia, Dubai, Singapore, the other day in Malaysia. Like people are finding this YouTube video, which is the 10 reasons not to have sex. It's like 532,000 views right now. And they're messaging us about City Fam because I just mentioned it in the video. So it's insane. Like honestly, it's God. Like there's just no other way to even describe it. Like right as the book gets done, the video starts shooting up and to 20,000 views a day. Like I have no control over that. So that's what's going on. And the people are messaging us, and we came up with this small group curriculum called The Truth About Sex. It's a 8-week study group where people are getting together, guys and girls, and they're talking about sex. And you know, like I said, people don't have to agree with my stance. They could say, hey, I think he's full of shit, whatever. But at least it gets them into healthy community with members of the opposite sex where they can talk about things of substance. And during those 8 weeks, they have a social event, they have a service event, and then if they get through those 8 weeks, we are going to work with them and teach them how to be a City Fam, which is amazing because if you've been listening to any of my videos for any length of time, I've said that God gave me a vision 16 years ago that people were going to come. I was going to be doing something really outside the box. People are going to come from all over the world to see it. So now we've had people that we've had conversations with in like 20 different cities around the world. All those cities I mentioned, Naples, Florida. I'll post the list actually on this link because it's too long for me to even remember and I didn't write it down. But Salem, Oregon, Bakersfield, California, Indianapolis, Raleigh, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia came in today. We've had people from everywhere, all those places and lots more messaging us about City Fam. So if you live in one of those places, or if you know someone that lives in one of those places that could use a group like City Fam, send them out. And you know, it's so easy. We make it so easy. You know, going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, like we make it so easy for people to plug in. And we make it as fun as possible. Sometimes people don't do it because it still requires you to show up. Like cultivating great friendships is not easy. It requires you to show up so that you hope other people show up when you need them. It's just like going to the gym. You know, like it's not easy. Everybody knows how to get in shape. It ain't hard. Like you stop, eating bad and move, right? Go to the gym and do something. But few people do it because it's hard, So that it's the same way with developing great friendships. It's the same thing. You just got to show up, and then people will show up for you. I love the church. I recommend finding a good faith community. If you're not in the area, and you don't have a City Fam by you, find a good faith community. They're good people there. If you don't want that, come out to a City Fam event. Start your own City Fam. We'll help you do it. So that's probably the biggest thing that's happening right now. We had all these groups meet. Or all these 2 groups meet and all these people reach out. So we're going to be launching them here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it's very exciting. If somebody would have told me 6 years ago that I would have wrote a book about abstinence, I would have bet any amount of money that would not be true. I was talking to a friend the other day and just shaking my head and just blown away by God and how He is able to redeem. I said in a previous video, like if anyone thinks that you're disqualified you're not good enough. You know, somehow that you would be disqualified from service to God. It's not true. You know, like, I'm living proof, and most people knew me, you know, and knew how public. I was very public with the dirt that I did, and still somehow God is able to use those mistakes and those foolish decisions and do something good with them. So I'm very grateful for that. And I just sometimes am like, I can't even believe it, honestly, when people reach out, when I read the things that they're saying about my book. I'm very humbled by it, and I'm very grateful. And yeah, so anyway, if you know anybody in any of those areas, feel free to tag them in a comment, or, you know, you can share the video if you like. If you want to start your own group and you're not in the area, just go to cityfam.com. There's a start a CityFam chapter button on the homepage. We'll get more info to you, and that's really it. So what's coming up with CityFam is we have a Renegade next month at Mustang Alley. I'm going to be out bowling on October 5th. That's going to be a good time. And then the very next day, October 6th, we'll be volunteering at Civic Works and with Baltimore Tree Trust, planting trees. So sign up for both of those events. Should be a really good time. We're going to have a Halloween party on the Saturday before Halloween. And what else? I don't know. That's about it. I mean, you know, staying consistent, grinding, trying to keep up with everything, working 6 or 7 days a week from the time I get up to the time I go to bed most days. You know, I guess I do want to talk about one thing I thought about as I was trying to clarify something that I said in a previous video about finding your purpose, and how for me, I was able to figure that out when I put sex on the altar. You know, I didn't know what it was before that, and I didn't know what my purpose for being here was before that. I had a vague idea, but I wasn't sure. And when I did that, when I made that decision, which was a very hard one, that's when I started to get more clarity with what I wanted to do. Now, I don't know. Part of it may have been the amount of effort, like of work that I was putting in at the time, because I was working really hard, because I kind of redirected that sexual energy into my work. I tell people, just from a practical standpoint, when you take the time that you're using to chase members of the opposite sex into working on yourself and your craft, you're probably going to figure out what you're here for a lot faster. But once I figured it out, you know, for me, it was like, the vision was so big and so good and so exciting to me that not only did it keep me in check, like my behavior, because I knew I needed God's help. Like, it was just too big. It was outside. It still is. It's still outside of my realm of experience. Somebody posted a question the other day, and they asked me about masturbation, and they're like, you know, basically, is that a good strategy for not hooking up with people? Like, is that a good strategy for preventative? And I said, no, absolutely not. Because if you're feeding that animal, it's only going to make it stronger, and it's going to make it harder to resist the temptation when the real temptation presents itself. So not only that, I believe, for me, I believe that when you're obedient, then you put yourself in a place where God will bless you. You know what I mean? Because if you're not living in obedience, so first off, this is, I probably offended some people when I talked about this too, when I said, look, most people won't give up sex. They won't give up their sin long enough to figure out what their purpose is. And it's true. People go to shitty jobs that they hate because they haven't gotten obedient they haven't got their relationship right with God. They haven't got that sin out of their life so they have a good connection with the source so they can hear from him. Therefore, they never know what they're here for, and they don't get deep fulfillment. That probably pisses some people off, and that's okay. But I 100% believe that's true. It was true in my own life for a long time. But when I got the sin out of my life and I got a good connection to the source, he began to speak to me and show me what it was. Like I said, when I realized what it was, I was more willing to keep the sin out of my life, including masturbation, because I needed his help. I was already working as hard as I possibly could, and it still wasn't happening. So I was made sure, even, not just sex, but even jerking off, I wasn't going to do it because not to say I was perfect, but I wanted God's help. I wanted him to help me achieve those things. And I thought if I was obedient, I'd put myself in a position for him to help me. Now, at the very least, I say I wanted to make sure I did everything in my power so that if I didn't make it, I could never look back and say it was my fault. Does that make sense? Like not only was I working as hard as I possibly could, but I wanted to be obedient. I wanted to pray, every day about it. I fasted, I signed a covenant with God that said I wouldn't look lustfully at women because I wanted to do everything in my possible power to make sure that if I didn't get there, I wouldn't have any regret because I knew that I did everything. And that is what it's like when you're working with him, because he will give you such a huge vision that you have to rely on him. That not only do you have to work, but you'll have to keep the sin out of your life. You'll have to trust him, you'll have to do all those things, and it's who you become in the process of achieving that. And I'm not there yet. I mean, listen, I talk about my financial situation a lot. I'm hand to mouth all the time. Like, I drive a borrowed car. I live in a room in a house of a guy I went to high school with that lets me stay there for free. I'm all in to my vision. This is it. I do as little outside of City Fam as possible, so I'm giving all my time to it and the book and everything else just to make this vision come to pass. So like, I'm all in. But I believe like when God gives you that vision, it stretches you and it forces you, it stretches your faith. It teaches you to rely on him. It makes you the best version of yourself. When I cut sex out of the equation, I talk a lot about I had to form healthy friendships, not just people that I, drank with or saw in the bars or whatever. And when I didn't have mindless dating, I wasn't always looking for that next girl to date. I had to form good friendships because just for survival purposes. And that is what really pushes you along. So anyway, I don't know if any of this is making sense, but I feel like I shared everything that I wanted to talk about. New Year's Eve is coming up. I'm excited about that. We're going to be doing something at BWI Hilton called Midnight in Hollywood, and always get 1,000+ people for that. I was thinking about something the other day, as far as I can tell, I don't think any other group's done what we're doing. As loud as I talk about not having sex, I'm equally pulling from the other side, which is, hey, we have the most fun. Most people that are telling you, hey, look, let's go out and have a great time and having all this fun, aren't saying, pulling from the side of values. We are a very unique group. City Fam is we're hey, let's do the right thing, but guess what? We're having more fun than you if you're doing the wrong thing. It's really unique, this thing. And I think that is what is attracting people from other parts of the world, is because the culture is so different. Typically when people tell you, for me, when I gave my life to God the first, in 2000, when I gave my heart to Jesus, I started going to church on Sundays, and I just stayed as far away from that scene as I could, right? Basically, that's kind of what people tell you. That's what, the church will tell you. That's what AA will tell you. They'll be like, look, don't go to those places because, if you go to a barbershop, you're going to get a haircut, right? That's what they say, things like that. And I did that for 6 years. I removed myself from those scenes, and I was stayed as far away as I could. Now, look, I would go back out every 3 or 4 months because I would just want to be around people. But for the most part, I stayed away from those places. And that's what most places will tell you. But if you look at Jesus, that's the opposite of what he did. He was at Matthew's house. He was hanging out with the sinners and the tax collectors and the prostitutes. He was all up in it, right in the middle of it. And the religious people were why is he hanging out with these notorious sinners? And he said basically, it's not the healthy that need a doctor, it's the sick. It's the sick that need a doctor. And that's really what City Fam is. For us, it's I still like to be around those people. Sometimes more than I like to be around church people or religious people. Now, and a lot of times I'll see those people will make positive changes in their life just by hanging out with me and my friends. So, for us, that's kind of what City Fam is. And honestly, it's we're not a bunch of, rigid, stiff, people that don't know how to have a good time. I honestly do think that my City Fam friends have more fun than these old people, my old friends that I used to party with, because their lives are like roller coasters, you know, like they might have some high highs, but they got some low lows too, you know, where their lives are falling apart and they got crazy drama going on and arrests and, you know, trust me, I was all up in it. I know, you know, so that's, I think, really what people are responding to with City Fam and why they're reaching out. And it's exciting. Like, I'm really looking forward to see what the next, you know, couple years bring. I guess that's it, you know, for now. I can't think of anything else. Anyway, love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See ya.